I experienced this week. Last week at Unity, we had a gentleman, Dr. Garland Landreth, who does tapping into bliss. And so I re-inspired myself to do some tapping. And it changed my attitude and changed my life. And as I went through the week, I would be driving and I would notice somehow I'd gotten into a mental conversation with no one there about some political thing or some conversation I had weeks ago with that person. And I go, all of a sudden I come to, and I go, why am I carrying on that mental conversation? There's no one there. Or having a abusive thought, well, I don't know if you call it abusive, but a thought about the driver who just pulled out in front of me or was going too slow. And it's like the consciousness, my brain was starting to notice it sooner. The short-term memory, the long-term memory, the change of behavior was happening from doing something physical. So we all have beliefs, behaviors, theories that don't work for us. And by becoming conscious of what they are, becoming conscious of the things that are going on in our life that we don't particularly care for, we can start to do something to change that. Whether it's doing tapping or going to someone who helps you to, other people can always see how we're behaving better than we can, and who gives you feedback, and getting a better idea of what really you're expressing will start to give you the option of changing to be more in tune with the desire, the joy, and the commitment that you want to have. God gives us, He doesn't give us the people that we want. He gives you the people you need to help you, to hurt you, to leave you, to love you, and to make you the person you were meant to be. And often we judge that. We go, why are you in my life? What did I do to deserve you? Why are you here? And fear is that protective part of us that keeps us from stepping through into our faith. And when we get stimulated in fear, the next thing that happens is anger. Because I'm afraid and it's your fault. I'm afraid and they did it to me. I'm afraid and I'm a victim. So the opportunity is available when we get to that anger part to begin to see that we're not a victim and take back authorship of our life and take back that confidence that we can do it, we can change, we can be excited, we can move forward. And it is becoming conscious, becoming aware of what is going through the mind. That is the most important thing. And then choosing. Is that what I want to think? Is that how I want to feel? Because I've tried forever and no one else will change because I thought they should. I just couldn't make it happen. And I couldn't change because I thought I should. Because I thought I should. Until I started to look at, really take a step back and say, what is it that I would choose instead? What am I thinking now? What am I letting go through my mind? Because we think the thoughts that, when you're sitting in the day, you might have a thought one moment about your vacation that you want to take, and then you're having a thought about the conversation you had with Joan, and did you say the right thing? And then you're thinking about what's for dinner tonight. And you don't worry about those thoughts. You know that they're going to come and go. We get really caught up in the thoughts about the anger that we have or the fear that we have. And we punish ourselves for having those, or we think we shouldn't, or we hang on to them, or we keep telling the story about it. But biochemically, every emotion that comes through is meant to pass through in 90 seconds. If you get angry, you get stimulated, fear, so that you'll run when the tiger's following you, then you're done running and you get over it. Look at the animals in the wild. They'll run, but when they're safe, then they stop, they eat, they drink water again. But in our society, we have so many things that are coming at us all the time that we forget that we can choose to change the story. The conscious mind, the left brain, keeps telling the story, or this feeling reminds me of that happened, and then that happened, and I remember that they did that to me, and that story is what Jill Bolte Taylor was talking about. She had no story when she came to after her surgery. She had to relearn who her mother was. She chose to say, I only want that which helps me to still stay in that feeling of nirvana. I choose to only have that which keeps me inspired. And asking for that to be in her surroundings, to those kinds of people that come to her, to be with her. And she would set her boundaries. So we need to learn to set our own boundaries of what stories we're going to let keep playing in our mind. Am I going to tell the story that they bullied me and they shouldn't have? Or am I going to tell the story they just don't understand? So we all have the ability to change our story. I watched a little video by Joel Osteen this week, and he told a story about being grounded at an airport in San Francisco because of the fog. And he assumed that the fog was everywhere. That's why they were grounded. So when they finally were cleared to take off, as he looked down, he saw that the fog was only about a square mile. And that's what's happening with us, you know. Our fear is just a little square mile of our whole beingness. Our anger, the story we're caught in, the thing we're telling ourselves. And we keep the fog going if we keep feeding it with our own thinking. But if we take the time to unplug, to step back, to get a different perspective, and to let our frontal cortex, which can do the discernment and the analyzing and the decision making, to get us back into our heart center, then we can take the steps to move forward. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to breathe, trust, let go, and see what happens. Now, I have studied and read and thought if I had the plan, and it didn't turn out that way. It wasn't even moving in that direction. My idea of how things were supposed to be. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. And it made me frustrated and angry. Anybody else ever have that experience? You know, there is this balance of I need to do the work and take the action steps to accomplish what it is that Spirit is telling me. And I need to let go and not try to run the ship. Because my intellect, the conscious mind, only knows what it's experienced in the past. And everything that it does is applied from what used to be. So it can't do what is the unknown. And moving forward with faith is moving into the unknown. Moving into I have no idea how it will work out. Like the people that Lynn discussed last week, they had an idea. They didn't know how big it was going to be. That little girl who won America's Got Talent, she had a dream. She wanted to be on American Idol, but she had to be 15. You know, so she applied to America's Got Talent. And she had a dream that she would win. But she had to do one step at a time. Write the songs that came from her heart. Play the music that came from her ukulele. And it paid off. So we don't know where the little seed of our dream will take us. But if we downplay it, what I have to do is not that important, so I can wait till tomorrow. It's, you know, oh, no one would really want to work with me. Whatever story is there. And the reason we get angry is because God, consciousness, whatever that higher power is that made you, knows what your plan was. And when your intellect is talking you out of it, you don't feel right inside. Because your higher self, your nirvana brain, knows what you came to do. So there's a balance of learning to listen, to let the intellect do its job of discerning and handling the details of life on planet Earth, but letting your spirit, your inner knowing, your great idea unfold. And so what happens with the right side of the brain, it only gives you a step at a time. And then the next step. And then the next step. And then the next step. But if you have the feeling of where you want to be, and how you want to express yourself, and you have the faith that you're not alone, that there is a power greater than anything else that flows through you, you can begin to take one step at a time. And I've done a lot of research on this fear, and there's no great successful person who doesn't face fear. I'm reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. And she talks about going on a road trip with fear. She says, okay, fear, because when you're going to be creative, there's going to be fear. And so what she says is that she has a little conversation with fear. And she says, okay, I'm going out with creativity here. We're going to sit in the front of the car. You can be in the back seat, because I know you come along with creativity no matter what. But you don't get to touch the radio. You don't get to make any decisions. You don't get to drive, ever do you get to drive. But you can come along, because I know you're going to be there anyway. And you are the opposite of my inspiration, and you're going to keep me inspired. Making peace with each of those emotions is the best way for us to change those emotions. Making peace that there is anger, resentment, and fear is the way to move forward. And I have a great quote about that somewhere. Let me see if I can find it, because I had so much fun looking up these quotes. Faith includes noticing the mess, the emptiness, and the discomfort, and letting it be there until the light returns. Faith includes noticing the mess, the emptiness, and the discomfort, and letting it be there until some light returns. So I just implore you all to set your commitment, to set your goal, to know what it is that you want to do, and believe that in taking the first step, even if there's fear, and the third step, even if there's fear, and the 27th step, even if there's still fear, don't lose sight of your dream. Don't lose sight of your gift. I always knew that it was going to be later in life that I'd get it. And when I was 62, I was reading Art Linkletter in Mark Victor Hansen's book, How to Make the Rest of Your Life the Best of Your Life. Oh, I still have time. I still have time. Art Linkletter was 94. So there is never an end to the opportunity that we have to express ourselves. I've always said there's no spiritual manual that ever said, and then they retired and went and played golf. You know, we're meant to share our gifts. We're meant to share our talent. Whether it's just being the greatest grandmother in the world or being a world leader in some way, in some little way, some big way. We're all meant to be sharing our gifts. And in closing, I'd just like to say a quote from Bentinho Massaro, who has also been an inspiration this year. Those who care the most about what others, the people think, end up creating the least of what they truly came here to become. Those who care the least about what other people think are the only ones crazy and powerful enough to create a new, better world for all.